Welcome, everybody, to the Mansfield. Well, everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. It is February 6th. Jordan, already. Brad, Wade, and we are on every single Thursday at 2 p.m. covering local Mansfield business and surrounding areas. And right here's a good time to stop and say, hold it. You want to be a guest on our show? We've done close to 42 shows now, Jordan, since we launched this last March, which when you think about dedication to doing this every week, the preparation, getting questions, getting the broadcast lined up, it's a little bit of work. And you know what, though, because we have real jobs, this is fun for us. So we're not stressed. We're not stressed out. We just enjoy talking to small, medium businesses. So if you are a small, medium business and you would like to be on the show, I'll put my email up here in a minute. But also, these are your two hosts, Jordan Huff and Herdy Burke. And then our sponsor is on today with us, Jordan, Liberty Tax Defenders. We got Wade Dennis and we've got Brad Horton, and we're going to do a little icebreaker section here in a minute. But if you also would do me a favor, if you haven't already subscribed, we now have jumped up in subscriptions. I think we added 24 people to the channel yesterday. So, Jordan, we're starting to get that momentum. It comes with just being consistent over time, which is 90% of the battle on YouTube. But you can go check us out at our handle at Mansfield TX Buzz. Hit that subscribe button, and there's a little thumbs up right under this video today on YouTube. Click that and tell us how much you like the show. It helps the algorithm if you click that like up. And if you are in chat and you want to say hi chat, have questions, ask them. We'll make you famous and pop them up right here. And let's see. I guess, Jordan. Oh, one other thing. Let's jump into everybody. Everybody always asks me this. Well, how's the channel doing? You know, it's funny how people want to come on and they go, tell me a little bit about your views before I sign up. You know, that kind of thing. And I say, okay. So since March, we're close to 15,600 views. We're close to 400 watch time hours on the total channel, which is kind of what makes the content relevant is that watch time hours. We are averaging 63%, 73% on shorts opens, and our long play videos are averaging over 45% play. So I'm really excited about that. So please check out an archive show if you're listening. Go help one of these people, do some business with them. And make sure you're supporting local Mansfield business. And again, if you want to be on the show, you can email me at herdy@herdyburke.com. That's my direct business email. Just put in the subject line, I want to be on your fantastic, super phantasmo show, and we'll get you all signed up. So, all right. So, Jordan, I'm getting ready to jump us into talking about our sponsors today, which is Liberty Tax Defenders, Wade Dennis, Brad Horton. Let's do our icebreaker section. We'll be right back. All right, guys. So Wade wrote this for us when we asked him to give us a statement about Liberty Tax Defenders. So here we go. We are Liberty Tax Defenders, your premier tax resolution firm. We work every day to help hardworking Americans keep more of their money and out of the hands of overzealous bureaucrats. We help our clients solve problems with back taxes, unfiled tax returns, payroll, and trust fund issues. We also negotiate payment plans and offers in compromise that are favorable to our clients, as well as represent clients who are under audit before the IRS. In addition, we help clients navigate tax issues such as the employee retention credit, as well as providing CFO, consulting, tax preparation, and accounting services. We have successfully helped our clients save well over, Brad just updated this, around $2 million in assessed taxes and penalties. If you find yourself under audit and owing back taxes, please do not hesitate to call us 817-995-5008 or visit our website at www.libertytaxdefenders.com. And how about this, guys?
I just found out I got a nasty letter in the mail saying I'm under audit. What do? You don't have to agree with what they find. Have we seen that they can make mistakes? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I think $1.2 million that we've saved our clients can show that they're not always right. So many people go at it alone. They just want to get it over with. They'll submit to an interview. They'll submit to letting the IRS come out. And that's the worst thing you can possibly do. You need to get somebody that can defend you, prevent you from talking to the IRS, prevent them from camping out at your place of business. They are taking the most extreme position. They are protecting the government's interests, not yours. Verify that that's correct. And then you have appellate rights. You don't have to just agree to their finding. You can appeal it. The appeals division of the IRS is an option for remediation that's available to taxpayers. It is quasi-independent. So you don't have such hardcore believers in the IRS mission working with appeals. They're reasonable. They always consider the hazards of litigation, and they're willing to negotiate, willing to knock off penalties oftentimes, willing to accept, you know what, this position is extreme. So when you're under audit, get help. Don't go at it alone.
So guys, thank you for being a sponsor. We look forward to going through some Q&A with you today. Jordan has some icebreakers he's going to start, and I can't wait to hear these stories because I'm probably going to laugh a little bit. But okay, so here we go. Jordan, take it over, my friend.
Ooh, so excited. It's awesome, especially when you have the sponsor on the show. So you do the sponsor call out and you're right there. That was totally meta. I love it. So let's hop into icebreakers. So we'll start with you, Brad. A lot of people know this, but you are the mayor of Kennedale. And I am dying to ask you, what is the life of a mayor like? And please don't leave out the ugly details. Give us a good view of why you decided to do this.
Next question. I'm just kidding. First off, congratulations to you guys on your success.
Thank you.
We're really honored to be your partners here, and you guys have a great show. We're really excited about it, and toast your success. So I mean that's awesome. In terms of being the mayor, where to start? I would say I could be funny, but honestly, it's an educational experience. And, at small town politics, it's just, you get called every name in the book, get accused of every crime under the sun. And I'm just like, some of the stuff that's on social media is just out there. But I think one of the things that's been, the toughest thing for me is, I'll go for whatever. I'll go for a walk. People stop, you want to talk. And I got a call at midnight on Sunday night about 2 weeks ago of somebody complaining about something in their yard. I went to a Rangers game over the summer just to try and unwind by myself. Somebody recognizes me, and I'm like, but that's kind of the downside of it. But on the plus side, I feel like, that's why Wade and I are in this business. I enjoy helping people, and I feel like, that outweighs everything, is being able to help people. And if I can, help them with a problem, help them improve their lives in some small way, then that is worthwhile, in all seriousness. And, so it is rewarding, although there are some times when, our recent trip to San Antonio, as Wade can attest, where I was a little flustered, but I digress. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally. And it's funny, because like you've been one of the people that really like opened me to what is like, and the just dealing with like your town politics and just going more local, where you can actually make a difference, and it's amazing to see how involved it is and how involved you are, because we work together outside of this, and I've been at your house, and you get phone calls every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes.
Full-time job without pay.
5 minutes.
Yes, yeah, it's crazy. Just in the middle of a conversation, you got to go take a call. You come back a little red. It's like everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Right.
Oh, that's great. And Wade, speaking of long drives, I wanted to ask you, because I don't think people know this, but you actually spent a lot of time in Mexico. Live there for, you live there at times. You travel over there, and apparently you have some interesting stories about driving in Mexico.
Well, I would say they're in a story of how I embarrassed myself driving through Mexico. So for those who may not be familiar, there are two types of highways in the Mexican highway system. You've got what are called the free roads, and then you've got the toll roads. The free roads, you don't have to pay to use them, but they go through all the towns and villages, and they're usually less maintained than the toll roads. Whereas the toll roads, of course, you have to pay to use them, and they bypass all the cities and towns. And so it's like being on the Autobahn, except for the toll booths. So one time I was on the road using one of the toll roads and was coming up on one of the toll booths. And usually when you're pulling up to the toll booth, you'll see signs saying cash in this lane, or you can pay credit card in this lane, or a toll tag in this lane. So this particular day, I was pulling up and the sign says cash payment in lanes 1 and 2. No problem. I got in line and started pulling up. And what I failed to register were that the people ahead of me were passing on through and not stopping. That didn't register. I didn't pay attention. I get there to the booth and I look over and the booth is empty and there's nobody there. So I look around, and this whole time the line is backing up behind me. People are honking their horns. People are, I can see people just gesticulating and yelling. And finally I look up and I look in my rearview mirror and I see this big old burly dude walking towards my car, and he's gesticulating and doing this and this. So I'm desperately trying to figure out how to get out of this mess when finally one of the booth workers in the lane next to me comes running over and takes my toll and lets me through. And luckily, he took my payment and I was able to get out of there before the big burly dude got to my car. But I saw him coming. So naturally, I hit the gas and off I went.
Yeah.
That was just one time. I embarrassed myself several times in Mexico at those toll booths.
Yeah, they take it really seriously. They don't like it when you don't pay those.
Yeah, there was another time where I got in the lane, and again, as I was pulling up, I could see the guys in their little bright vest, and they were directing traffic, and they had the toll booths down to 2 lanes. And again, I wasn't paying attention to which one was which. So I got in the lane and I got all the way to the toll booth, and a lady in the toll booth just sat there and stared at me. I'm trying to hand her the money. And again, I've got big old 18-wheeler diesels right behind me, lining up and lining up and lining up. And she wouldn't let me through, and she wouldn't take my toll. So finally what ended up happening is the guy in one of the little vests had to come out and force everybody behind me to back up.
Oh,
so that I could back up and get into the right lane, which was across the whole Caseta.
Oh no!
So, and again, I had, especially the guys in the diesel trucks, they were screaming and yelling and making. I don't want to say what they were doing, but they were not happy.
Oh man, wow, that's stressful.
Yeah. So it's a learning curve, definitely, the drive there.
That hasn't happened to me in Mexico, but it happened to me at the airport.
Oh, yeah?
On the toll only, and have a toll tag, but I don't know why the airport doesn't like to scan it. It works everywhere else. Just one of their things just not opening. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what to do. Like, I'm stuck.
I know.
And you have to the single person's like, I need to get back out. And yeah, and
I'll also add that they are very, very serious about their speed bumps down there. They are much, much larger than they are here. And I about trashed my truck because I hit one of those at speed, and I thought I was gonna lose my truck. Totally.
You felt like Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait to hear this one.
Yeah. So now next up. So what about those Ohio State fans?
Ohio State fans. So where to begin? I had my first experience in 2005. I was a younger guy, and the Longhorns played at Ohio State at the Horseshoe. And I didn't really know much about them. So I went with some friends, and I mean, get called everything in the book, and they're throwing stuff at you, this, that, and the other. And Ohio State fans, take a playbook from Michigan fans. Learn how to act, you know? So anyway, this year at the AT&T Cotton Bowl, I have my two sons with me. And fortunately, it's very highly partisan Texas fans. Obviously, it's 3 hours from the school, but there's still some Ohio State fans there. And this guy comes in. I don't know if it was intentional. So, of course, sitting right behind me, and he pours beer all down the back of me. And I mean, I'm mad because he's mouthing or whatever. So I turn around and I throw it right back. I mean, it's all over my hands. I throw it right back in his face. And he's like, "What's your problem, man?" I said, you're my problem. And I mean, it's just, he shut up after that. But, you know, there were a couple of them. I mean, it's just like F-bombs. And I'm like, people, what's your problem?
It's a game.
It is a game.
It's a game.
But yeah.
Win or lose, it's a game.
They're in education. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Hook them.
Yeah.
Hook them horns.
Hook them.
All right. So the fun stuff, Jordan. Here we go.
So it's been a little while since we've chatted last time on the show, which is awesome. You guys are back. So I think let's just kick it off with what's new with Liberty Tax Defenders. What you guys been up to?
Wade, you want to kick us off?
Well, I would say that a big change is that we have added a third partner to our team. His name is Fred Dernbaugh. He's our operational guru. So he officially came on last month in January, and we are just excited to have him as part of the team and to help us out going forward. So,
absolutely. And he can't be here today. I don't want to say too much, but he's he couldn't be here. He wished he could be here, but we are very excited about him. He's a small business owner. He's had a lot of great success, and coming on operations wise, I think he'll really help us to expand and grow. And just again, we're super excited, but that's probably our biggest change, I would say.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I met Fred. He's awesome. So congratulations. That is really cool.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're excited to have him. So.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then, going on as you guys continue to grow and expand, operations, I mean, services, right? So do you guys offer any other service beyond tax resolution?
Absolutely. So, we started Liberty as a way to kind of deal with IRS problems, everything IRS, audits, collections, whatever. But we noticed in there that some people were asking us, can you do our taxes? So we're like, yeah, okay, we'll do taxes. Some asked us to kind of do some CFO, regular accounting work. So we started doing that, and it kind of started happening more and more. So, I think it was Wade's idea. And so I'll pass the baton off to Wade to say how we've moved forward.
So as Brad says, we started gaining what I call regular accounting clients, regular tax and accounting clients along the way. And so we decided to hang out our shingle and open up our own CPA firm called Horton Dennis. And we are going to house our regular ongoing accounting and tax clients in the Horton Dennis brand, while we continue to focus on tax resolution and Liberty Tax Defenders.
Absolutely. And so, a distinction here or something to mention is that Liberty Tax Defenders, we can provide accounting. So we're CPAs, obviously, but we cannot call ourselves a CPA firm. Horton and Dennis is a licensed CPA firm by the state of Texas.
Okay, gotcha.
That allows us to offer some other services that we couldn't, attestation services like audits, reviews, compilations, stuff like that. So super excited about it.
Yeah, it definitely allows us to offer a broader range of accounting services under the Horton Dennis brand.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so diving a little bit deeper in the Horton Dennis brand, so what kind of accounting services do you guys offer?
All right.
Well, we, of course, offer tax preparation services, accounting services, bookkeeping. We do some tax planning. And we also, as Brad said, we do consulting CFO, or I would even say controller, like services to clients, helping them with their books and giving them advice on how to book things and along those lines.
Yeah.
And like Fred,
No, go ahead, Wade.
I was going to say, as we are planning on being able to offer at what's called attest services or audit services down the road too, and being a CPA licensed CPA firm will allow us to offer those services as well.
Fun times. But yeah, so and I just completely lost my train of thought here. But like in the consulting services, we'll have just questions and this and that, and we're like, you know what? Why don't we? And we've done this with a few folks, but like help them get their QuickBooks Online set up, and kind of tell them what they need to be on the lookout for in terms to stay off the IRS radar. And I think one thing that we see, and I'll put this on Twitter all the time. I think maybe even done a couple of YouTube shorts on it. But one thing we see, especially with small business owners and people starting out, going on their own, we love that entrepreneurial spirit, but they mix and commingle their business funds and their personal funds. That's a no-no for tax purposes. That's a no-no for legality purposes. Right. And, so that's one thing I feel like we can help. And we've consulted folks on is, helping them set up, telling them and, giving them some in-depth information on why you want to keep your business activities separate from your individual activities. And, on the other side of that, if you were to get sued, they can come after you personally, your assets personally, if there's not a proper line drawn between you and your business. So just, stuff like that. We've seen a need for it. And, as we go ahead.
In addition to to that is that the IRS as well, if they see the commingled, they will definitely can punch through and start going after personal assets and such, as opposed to just the business assets.
Absolutely. They'll hit everything as they'll disallow expenses, hit you with constructive dividends. And in some cases, they will, if you're an S Corp, they'll take away your ability to operate as an S Corp and all things you don't want to be in. So
I would also imagine, guys, that a natural progression for business is they start this way. They have these basic things in place and they start expanding. They maybe go into a bigger building or they add an asset. And as time goes, those things overlap or get confusing or they haven't separated them correctly. So you guys can be a big help in that arena, correct?
Yes, more so on the front end than when they call on hey, I've done this. What can I do? There's only so many options at that point. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That's what I was going to mention, because on the last show, you guys mentioned how you prefer to get people on the front end because there's so much more you can do there.
Yes.
Catch them early.
Yeah. And honestly, that consulting service makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people could really take advantage of it, because when you're going into business, it's amazing the amount of stuff you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're drinking from the fire hose. You're going as, taking everything as you best can, and you're going to leave some areas out. And being able to talk to you guys who know the tax code very well, like, look, this is the best way you can set things up and start on the right foot, makes a lot of sense. I'm really glad you guys are offering that, because I can see so many people that can benefit from that.
And I could see them I could also see them if they help defend somebody with an IRS letter, that's a natural progression that they want to take you on, want you guys to handle their stuff turnkey, because they don't have to go to two different places, get two different answers to questions. They can just keep it in one turnkey situation. So it's a benefit to have all the services on top of that. Absolutely. That's cool.
And if they're already working with a previous CPA, doing that, we don't coach clients, but I mean, a lot of them don't. And they're like, hey, can you do our taxes?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think you guys are ever out to say, okay, we'll take that over. I think you just want to start with what you do best, and then if somebody wants to come drink out of the same fountain with you guys, they can do so. It's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. And, not to peddle too much of consultation, but I really think it's worth it. And, because people do website audits, I do social media audits. You should do a financial audit and, tax strategy audit of your business, because things may change or things might not be what you think they are.
Right.
which I believe that now, and it's a total leading question because I know you've talked about this before, and I really want to ask you, because you mentioned S Corps, and that is a more advanced setting, and there are some costly mistakes that I know for a fact you guys have experienced quite a bit. So what are some of those S Corp mistakes that you typically see?
Well, I would say that the biggest issue that we have run across is that to be an S Corp, and if you are an owner of an S Corp and you are actually doing the work of the S Corp, you are like if you're a real estate agent and you are actually out doing the work of you're not just a passive owner, but you're an active, is that S Corp owners have to take a reasonable salary. And we see time after time after time where people that set up S Corps because they've heard that's the way to go, but they don't know that rule. And if the IRS comes in and sees you pulling cash out of your business instead of paying yourself a salary, they will reclass all those distributions as salary and hit you with all. They will hit you with all the payroll taxes in addition to penalties, interest, and
oh my gosh,
and really stick it to you.
Yeah. Wow.
And probably take away your ability to operate as an S Corp. They will disregard your S Corp status, and you'll go back to what you were for tax purposes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But one of the other issues that we've been having with S Corp owners is they're coming to us. They get a notice from the IRS saying that they're not a valid S Corp. And, we've had clients thinking they've made an election to be treated as an S Corp back in as far as 2019, 2020, 21. The IRS is coming back 5 years later saying, sorry. And when that's the case, it's a really bad situation because we can only provide relief back basically 2 years before we can file the election for them and then get them treated as an S Corp for 2 previous years. But going back further than that, they're not going to be allowed to be treated as an S Corp. And that's something we've seen regularly. And
how does that happen, Brad? How's that happen?
Their CPA or attorney or themselves are not properly filling out the form, which you filed on as a form 2553, sending it to the wrong location, whatever. But it's pretty widespread based on what we've seen over the past 12 to 18 months.
Good to know.
Yeah, and if another issue is, and of course the IRS doesn't tell you these things when it happens, but we've actually seen a case where on page 2 of the form, the S Corp owner didn't sign in the proper box, so they were denied their S Corp election. But the IRS, of course, never said a word, never sent them a letter notifying them of this.
Wow.
So they're operating as though business as usual. They're operating, filing their tax return as if they are an S Corp. And the IRS is accepting it and giving it what's called the non-postable status, meaning it's basically thrown in the trash, but they're not getting credit for it. And again, it's oftentimes several years before they're notified of this in the first place.
Wow.
And it's kind of, in my opinion, kind of shady on the IRS not to notify them because they don't know. And they think everything's fine. Then the IRS comes back and says, hey, your returns, they didn't count. We throw them in the trash. They have to scramble. And then obviously there's usually a lot of
wailing and
amount of taxes owed. Yeah.
We actually were talking to a client earlier this week, I believe, Brad. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he found out his S Corp election wasn't in effect. He was talking to him about a separate issue, and it came out in the conversation that you don't have an S Corp election.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never notified him. Never sent him a letter.
Yeah.
He wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah. Wow. And so what happens when you get caught with that? So, you have like the 2-year mark that you can still kind of do that. But if they hang on to it for 5 years, like you got pinched, what happens?
Well, in the cases before those 2 previous years, you got to refile. They've got to refile their business returns. A lot of times they would be treated as sole proprietors, which means they've got to amend their personal tax return, put their business on a Schedule C, and have everything subject to self-employment tax. So they're usually going to have a pretty hefty tax bill.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to go back and file just a regular.
Yep.
All right. So for S Corps listening to us right now, what's something they could do to make sure this doesn't happen?
Call us.
Call us, Pick up the phone to the IRS. Here's a free one. Pick up the phone to the IRS and, tell them your business and make sure they're treating you as an S Corp. Make sure your S Corp election is on file with the IRS and that you're okay to be treated as an S Corp for tax purposes. That's something people can do for themselves. And if not, then definitely call us. But
technically speaking, when you file an S Corp election, the IRS is supposed to respond within 60 days and send you a letter saying it's approved or disapproved, as well as giving you the effective date of the election. So they're supposed to send out a letter like that, but we've had some clients who just have never seen the letter, and they don't know that they're not an S Corp.
Yeah.
No.
What an amazing left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Yep.
Your tax dollars at work, everybody.
Yeah, there you go. That's another conversation.
Indeed it is.
I'm going to get into here pretty soon. But going back to Liberty Tax Defenders and Horton Dennis, like what other type of tax services do you guys offer?
Well, we do tax preparation. We're starting to get into tax planning now. We've got a great partner in San Antonio that's really specialized in tax preparation. But in terms of like tax resolution services, audit defense, any type of IRS issue, collection issue, and that's another thing. A lot of times people come to us when they're under the collection issue. It'd be better if they came to us when they're under audit, where we've got a bigger arsenal at our disposal rather than when the IRS is threatening to put liens and levies on their assets and everything. But Wade, what else would you say?
Tax preparation, tax planning.
I have one. So Brad, the last time we visited at your house, we were working on your YouTube channel stuff, and you were all giddy because one of your services was you had traveled to do an audit, and you actually came back like remember that pound sand thing that you say you actually shut down an audit.
That is correct.
I know you don't want to go into too much detail, but can you tell us how that would possibly happen?
Yes. Well, first off, the IRS in this particular case, I obviously don't want to disclose information to this taxpayer.
But
in this particular case, the IRS is they're not following proper protocol. They didn't notify him properly. They didn't give him, they're required to follow certain steps on their part. And then they're while not required to, they're looking at everything. They're supposed to tell you, okay, we're kind of looking at this, we're kind of looking at that. So finally I'm able to get a hold of this person that's conducting the audit. It was a manager. I'm like, listen, man, you didn't provide this X, Y, or Z. And, I'm sitting here looking at their tax return. I'm looking at their financials. There's no exposure there. And, and so long story short, they have to stay within their parameters. They have to be able to identify and disclose what they have. They didn't do that. And they probably realized, you know what, these guys can sue us and we're going to look bad. So they're like, all right, we're just not going to move forward. Case closed. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that also leads me into this, and that is if people haven't been to your website and they don't read about you and Wade's educational background and your in-depth masters and doctors in taxation, it's just crazy. I could never do that, by the way. But the one thing that people may not realize is how much code you wrote for the IRS. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. Well, when I'd left, when I was leaving, we just wrote one of the new regulations, my team, in coordination with the National Office Attorneys, but we wrote one of the regulations on executive compensation. I did a lot of stuff, a lot of input on regulations regarding foreign tax credit when I was an international, and then publications, guidebooks, stuff like that. Wrote a lot of them. They used to do these things called practice units. I must have written 24 of those things, but yeah, I mean, it's part of the job, and it's actually pretty fun researching it and writing it. But then, you've got to go, like, everybody in the world feels like they've got to have a say in it. You've got national council's got to edit it, and Treasury's got to edit it, local council. It's just like,
Yeah, you know what they say, Brad. The larger the board, the harder it is to get things done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So my point is, experience matters, and the whole point to me asking that question was, and I don't want to get in Jordan's way here, is that if you have experience with this code, that means that you understand how they think, what they're coming in trying to accomplish, what this letter is written a certain way, and what they're looking for. This is what makes you guys so freaking valuable to businesses, right? Is you got that in your back pocket and can really take what you knew from doing that to help them. So you're almost going from like being a prosecutor to a defense attorney, okay?
Sure.
Which is really cool.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they want to have you in their court for sure. Because another thing I want to ask you guys about is the what's going on with the ERC credit.
Oh yeah.
And what I think is really interesting is when I talk to you guys about is you give me the perspective of what's the strategy behind what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So can you please give us a little bit of that insight, because it's a very unique perspective because you get to understand the why behind it and what they're trying to do.
Sure. Well, this was the employee retention credit came out in right after COVID, and one of my teams helped write that regulation, write the FAQs, and to get it in when I was still there. And so the employee retention credit was basically a way for, when businesses were shut down and couldn't operate in tax year 2021 because of COVID, it was a way to help them make payroll and pay their employees. And so that was the intent of it. But at that time, what happened is you have, unfortunately, what I would say a lot of bad actors out there that were just claiming this for businesses that weren't qualified to claim it.
Yeah.
And the IRS was just kind of, okay, here you go. Here's your cash. Boom, boom, boom. Move forward. And, it's very fact specific. You either have to have a specific reduction in gross receipts, or you had to be under an evacuation order to claim it. And it was dollar. You got to prove the dollar amounts. And people just said, oh yeah, my gross receipts went down. Well, there's a very specific requirement. And when people were getting these refunds, the IRS was not checking that. They are now. And there's a lot of businesses that claimed it that were not entitled to claim it. And so the IRS has had 2 voluntary disclosure programs, basically where people that weren't entitled to claim it come and self-report, boom, 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 and you're okay. You probably pay a penalty. Those periods are now closed. Now the IRS is going to start coming after people criminally, businesses criminally. And I've worked some of these voluntary disclosure programs in the realm of international taxation, international finance. And what they're doing is basically they're saying, we're going to send you to jail unless you agree to this penalty, which is 35%, 50%, what have you. And it's kind of a money grab, but right. It's happening. And the sad thing is these businesses are not the ones they should be going after. It's the CPAs, it's the attorneys that claim it, because they don't know. And I remember back when businesses or CPAs and attorneys were, hey, we'll get you an ERC refund, and no questions asked. And that was going on. Now the IRS is caught up to that, and they're coming out for blood. And that's one thing we can definitely help you do is withdraw your claims. And if they're already auditing you, we can help you with that. But it's a bad situation, and we're going to see a lot more of that here in the next couple of years, unfortunately.
The thing that probably upset most people or scares most people is there were so many TV commercials and media and online saying, get your money today. Like all you had to do was send in a form and you got it, no questions asked. And people, they didn't talk about qualifications. They didn't go through any of the rules, right? I mean, the whole point of this was you paid your employees, right? Because nobody was coming into your restaurant or whatever place of business, and you wanted to keep their jobs so that they weren't starving. It was supposed to be a real helpful program.
Yeah.
So, but then everybody said, well, everybody qualifies and owns a business. Not true.
Absolutely
people, not true. It kills me that people do not sit down. I'm sorry, I'm going to get on a Herdyism here. Do not sit down and read documentation and take the time, instead of believing everything they're told, actually read and understand and make their own decision, but not based on what somebody just tells them. It's crazy. We live in this world of instant gratification, and people just think they're entitled to everything. It's nuts. But anyhow, enough. I'm done.
Well,
cut me off. Cut me off.
And one of the criteria here, one of the criteria is you had to be under an evacuation order.
Yeah.
Well, here in Texas, here in Tarrant County, we were really only under that meet the qualifications for 6 weeks there in 2020. Right. And after that, and you've had people claiming that qualification for 2020, 2021, and they're not. No.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an abuse of it too.
I would think that that's probably the number one thing that they're doing right now. Brad, is that your opinion? Is that probably what they're really focused on, the IRS right now?
Absolutely. Because the gross receipts, that's harder to claim or that's harder to prove. I mean, that's cut and dry. But the evacuation order, well, yeah, I was under an evacuation order.
Yeah.
We had a whatever, but it has to be, it's very specific language, very specific statute, whatever. And, here in the state of Texas, we didn't have it, but more than, I think it was like 6 weeks.
Wasn't long.
Now other parts of the country, yes, they did.
Right.
For longer, but we didn't here. And people were claiming it, and didn't work that way. So,
and the important thing is, when those things are, some of that stuff reads like, I know the language, but if you have an issue with that, that's what's important to have, CPAs that speak tax code, you guys can actually read that, understand what it means.
Right. Well,
I like it. Call these guys.
Yes.
If you're in that boat, call them.
Yeah. Herdy, guidelines are. Herdy, you can understand what the good YouTube guidelines are, so you can understand just about anything written.
Right. It just makes sense that people use their common sense, before they start taking any kind of. I have a rule. If you're going to take money from the government, you better understand what the heck they're giving it away for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the catch?
Because there's nothing that there's no, what's the catch and what's it going to cost me? Because that's really the bottom line. There's no such thing. The fact that I'm 70 and get Social Security and it's still taxable, it just breaks my heart. It's just crazy that I have to lump it in with my total income. It's just nuts. It's nuts. But anyhow, pound sand. Okay.
Yes. So, I love this. Let's keep it saucy. Why not?
Yep.
So, a lot of things are happening right now, right? We just had an election. There's a lot of things moving around. I'm curious from the tax expert's point of view. I want to hear from you guys. Like, what's going on right now with Trump and the IRS? Like, there's some friction. What do you guys are seeing? Can you give us a little bit of the insight?
Wade, do you want to start us off, or?
Remember, your parents are listening.
Well, with Doge, I'm hoping that he is able to shut down and close down some inefficiencies and save taxpayer money. That's the big thing that I'm seeing right now. What else, Brad?
Well, for any practitioner that tries to call the IRS hotline, we have a special number as practitioners where we can call, and we're not supposed to have to wait as long. We can get in touch with somebody. Those lines are longer than they should be. It should be more than 5 to 10 minutes, but oftentimes if you call after 7 a.m. or anytime before 6 p.m., you're going to be on hold for an hour or more. A lot of these people working the phones with the IRS have been on evacuation order since COVID. They've not returned to the office. People that process returns have not returned to the office. So I think we can expect these guys to go back. Now, I know that there's buyouts that have been offered to IRS folks. I know a lot of them are taking that. And I also know that Trump and Doge are slowly eliminating their ability to telework. So they're going to have to go into the office. Right. And, a lot of people can do that. But when I was at the IRS, I had people that you didn't know what they did all day. And these are managers, senior managers, and you can't discipline them. It's so whatever.
It's in a hierarchy. It's a true hierarchy.
Right. So I think that's all going away. And perhaps one of the biggest things we don't have to worry about right now, and hopefully never again, is the taxing of unrealized capital gains. I know Trump will tear that up.
And they've got a whole video on that. Then
we do. We do. Yep.
Yes.
Wade was pretty priceless in that one.
Well, and I would say with Trump also, one of his campaigns was not to tax tips, which he's going to have to run that through Congress, right, and get it passed. But man, that's a big deal to people in the restaurant business, to people in the tipping business, that cash is untaxable. And for me, Social Security benefits possibly not being taxed. I would like to see. I just don't think it's fair. I paid into the system for 60 years, and I still have to claim that as my part of my bulk income along with what I make now. It's just nuts. So I'm all for that. And I've already written my congressman and said, you better pass this.
Awesome. And we've even heard potentially eliminating capital gains taxes.
Yes.
I think that would be huge.
Yeah, because, the death tax and stuff like that too. I'd like to see that arranged. It's just not, I remember when my dad was killed and my mom became a widow, you can't believe the tax implications with all the life insurance and everything that they wanted out of this death tax stuff. It's crazy. It's like, come on, so I think under Trump, we're going to see, my opinion, until it actually gets signed and dotted in Congress, right? I'd like to see some of these smaller changes. I really would.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, hopefully they'll get rid of some of the bad actors that were there, when you start going in the executive level.
Sure.
I was there when his first term and, it was just orange man bad, everything. We're going to try and resist. And I mean, you know what? The president of the United States is your boss. Do what he tells you to do. I mean, it's non-negotiable, but I mean, unfortunately that was, that was happening very frequently in his first term.
That's right. Well, yeah. So I think we're going to see changes for sure. That's my opinion.
And another question I have for you guys, because again, you guys have such an interesting perspective into the world, like going at it from taxes. And this one is a little bit more outside of like, I guess average people's scope, but this is fascinating too. Can you guys tell me a little bit about the Malta Trust Station? Can you tell us what that is to begin with?
Sure. Wade, you want me to, or you want to?
Yeah, I think you have a little bit more firsthand knowledge of this.
Okay.
You can have the commentary.
This is kind of a series of things the IRS has been doing, is trying to crack down on investments in overseas assets, if you will. And it started with the voluntary disclosure. They wanted to know about your foreign bank accounts, wanted you to pay taxes, and then they would bring you in. And so that was successful. They got a lot of money. They put some folks in jail, penalties. And so here we have this Malta trust issue, which, it's, and it's out there, it's public out there now. So you got about 200,000 Americans that are basically dual citizens or dual residents of the United States and Malta. And so there's a treaty with Malta. And in this treaty, it basically allows for U.S. persons to put their assets, things like their businesses, whatever, into a Malta pension account. And then once they reach retirement age, they can basically withdraw it 50% every year tax-free. Malta doesn't tax it, the U.S. doesn't. So you can basically take all your money, put it in, if you qualify, put it in this pension plan, and then withdraw it, all the gains and everything else tax-free. Now, the IRS and their attorneys, the attorneys at the Treasury Department, negotiated this treaty, right? So then they turn around a couple of years ago and say, well, we don't like this. People are taking money out of this and escaping taxation altogether. We don't like how this treaty's written, even though it's been approved by the Senate, and we're going to interpret our position different. And so we're going to try and start taxing people. So they've got, there's a money grab, and they're trying to get people to come forward, threatening penalties, even though
it's law.
Yeah. In a treaty, I don't know, for people listening, a treaty it has higher weight than the actual U.S. code. I mean, it's, in terms of authority, it's up there. And so they've decided that they don't like this, and they're going to start going after it. So hopefully they get shut down on it, because it's, redo the treaty if you don't like it. Don't say we don't like what the law says, so we're going to interpret it differently. That's complete lawlessness. It's truly sickening.
And Brad, how exactly is the IRS targeting these people?
They're saying, in essence, they've got a voluntary disclosure program saying you come forward, you report all your assets, you pay a tax, a penalty on all your balance. Like if you have a $5 million balance and all your assets, pay a 30% penalty on that, and then we'll agree not to send you to prison. Basically, I mean that's the gist of it. I mean it's a little more complicated than that, but yes.
Okay.
Is that a Supreme Court possible case, you think?
I would hope so, because it needs to be smacked down.
Yeah. Okay.
And the thing about this Malta trust issue, Malta pension issue, is if the IRS is successful, they're allowed to get away. I mean, they've gotten more brazen. You can kind of understand, yes, the law says U.S. citizens report income you report your worldwide income. That's fine. I mean, that's our law. That's fine. But that was so successful getting people to come forward, reporting their foreign assets. They've gotten a little more aggressive, and now a little more aggressive with Malta. So, what's to say that if they're successful here, they don't start going after every legitimate treaty that we have, trying to, because treaties offer tax incentives and things like that. What's to say they don't start going after everything? And where does it stop?
Right.
So hopefully they're smacked down on this.
Yeah. Good. So one thing, Jordan, we don't really have a question up here with, but if you don't mind me asking, jumping in real quick, Brad, you had posted a short. We live in a world of alternative cash called crypto. We both know that Bitcoin's jumped to some unbelievable freaking levels in the last 2 months. And how does the IRS look at our cryptocurrency? What is the rules? Is it the same as it is on cash in the bank? Is there gains tax? Is there lost profit? I mean, how is that being looked at from Treasury Department?
Sure. Great question. And I have to say, I wish I would have bought Bitcoin in 2014. But whatever. Different conversation for a different date. And here's another thing. The IRS, when I was leaving, they were establishing task forces wanting to go after crypto. They hate it because they can't control it. But for now, and like Ripple, XRP has had all kinds of issues with the SEC trying to attack it, saying it's a security, this, that, and the other. But long story short, right now, crypto is basically taxed like a capital asset. You sell it, you're taxed on the gain just like you would a stock. If you receive an airdrop, that's considered income to you.
Right.
You stake and you get rewards. Staking is like interest. I tell people like interest or dividends. But one thing people don't know is, like, say, Herdy, you go and say, all right, I've got some Ethereum. I'm going to swap it for Bitcoin. Well, if there's a fluctuation in the gain, then that's considered a gain too, and you got to report.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know if I go to my Coinbase account and look at my profit loss statement, they give me what forms I need to file, blah, blah, blah. So people, if you have something set up on the block and you've got one of your choices where you buy and sell, realize that there's statements there you can go copy. They're required to give you your tax information at the end of the year, so you can file that. Just be aware of that. Now, mining is expensive.
Yes.
To take money from your crypto and cash it out, right? Is there one of the things that's always disturbed me is, why can't mining fees be considered a lost item, and why can't there be some rules put in? But if you're going to pay these big fees for mining your crypto, why can't we get that as a write-off?
I think now is a great time where that can be is at the forefront. I think, Trump is, and his son Eric are really into crypto. So
I'm encouraged, but there's got to be some rules that come down the pipe, because nobody really understands how this stuff works. They don't understand when they sell, they get mined, that there's these machines out there that take a fee for making the transaction happen, especially if you're moving between several blockchains and you've got one crypto sold here, but another one's not sold on that one, it's bought on another one. To me, it needs to be more explained better. It needs to be simplified. Somebody needs to come out and just explain A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
it kept me almost from getting into it because I was scared to death of it because I didn't know how to get money out of it or transfer it or without paying fees, right? So
Right.
yeah. So anyhow, I didn't mean to bring that up, but I know it's become an important part of people investing in that, and they need to go look and make sure they're not tax liable for their 24. So
No, absolutely. But in other industries, that would be considered a business expense or at worst an
Right.
investment expense, right?
right, exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hope I didn't bore you off that one, but
No, it's great. I love it.
So we're going to do our last question. So before we hop to the last one, I wanted to ask you guys, just in general, like as we move into obviously closing 2024 and heading to 2025, what are some of the new tax things that you guys see that maybe you want to just make us aware of?
Well, I think, as I would say any year, the first thing is make sure you're keeping adequate records, keeping good records. Try and organize as best as you can. Don't just try and go give your accountant a shoebox full of receipts if you can avoid it. But and if you're filing your returns by yourself, make sure you spell, and I know you're going to laugh, but spell your name right, enter your social security number right, because the IRS will reject it and you're not going to know why. And you're going to be sitting there and not think to go back. So make sure you do your basic diligence on that. That's one of the big things. In terms of new changes for this tax year, there's really not a lot that would impact folks at our level. Like, if you're a executive at JP Morgan or something like that, maybe, but I think at our level, it's just, be aware of the standard deduction limits, things like that.
I know mileage jumped up quite a bit this year.
It did jump up quite a bit. It did.
So just track your miles and you keep a good spreadsheet and make sure you list who you saw and what you did. And 67 cents is pretty good, or whatever it is. I'll take it, right? Or maybe it's higher. I don't know, but track your mileage. It ends up being good at the end of the year.
Yeah. And please track your mileage. If you, heaven forbid, if you're under audit, you don't have a mileage log or anything, it's gone.
I mean, I know that's not a big deal for in the big scheme of things, but when you start talking about 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 miles, and you multiply it times 0.67, that's a pretty nice chunk of change that comes right off the bottom line on your taxes, right? So
absolutely.
Do you guys help? Let's say you're doing tax planning for a business, they're getting ready to file. You're helping with their tax return. They end up owing some money, and then they have an option to reduce that tax bill by going into adding some money to a 401k or putting it somewhere before April 15th, right? So, I know you guys don't do the investment side, but you say, hey, you could help yourself a little bit here on your bottom line. You did this, and this, right?
Yeah. We could. I don't know that I'm necessarily done. I think everybody just wants their refund and they want to go to
okay. But if they owe, it might be a good idea to set up another deferred way not to pay the tax right then. So
absolutely. I mean, that's something we'd be happy to talk about.
But unfortunately, though, by the time you get to April 15th, there's not too many options at that point to lower your tax bill. You need to do that stuff back in December or earlier, right?
Yep.
Yes,
sir.
Well, we had a lot of chatters that were just making comments that I didn't want to put up, but some were saying lots of laughs, or that's not good for a business, or man, who does that? So they're with you on some of the crazy rules that people are going, man, it just seems like such a gig. So these guys right here, Liberty Tax Defenders, Brad and Wade, the big thing I want you to go with today, and this is the thing they emphasize a lot, this is just personally from meeting them, is if you get a letter, do not call the IRS, right? Call these guys. Let them make the calls, find out what's going on, and let them go to work for you, because this is what they do the best, and they're fantastic at it. And I already know that for some people you're working with. I'm not going to say who, just good work, guys. So it's
Yeah,
awesome.
what did we say? You guys are almost at the 2 million mark that you've been able to save.
There. And could I make one comment, Herdy, on your thing?
Sure.
If you owe the IRS $10,000 or less and you can't pay it off, don't pay a CPA thousands of dollars to negotiate a payment plan.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And we're actually writing a book that we're going to publish soon with steps about how to do that. And hopefully it's a way that people can, because we see a lot of, and again, I don't want to say bad actors, but we see a lot of CPAs ripping people off. I mean, they owe 10 grand, they're charging them $5,000 to get on a payment plan that you can do yourselves. And that's what our book shows them exactly how to do it themselves. And actually, I just sent that to Wade to edit it. He made some very, very good observations and comments. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have that out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if it's under a certain amount, under that 10 grand benchmark, you can just basically get a payment plan set up. That's pretty much understood. It's when you get into that big letter you get where your house is in jeopardy or your assets. You need to work with somebody direct and get that resolved.
And even 15 grand, I think that's
I think there's a comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great, because I don't think a lot of people actually know that, right?
No, they don't. The IRS doesn't publicize it, and it's kind of a way for people to, you'll see commercials all the time.
But they want to solve that as much as you do.
Yeah,
they want to get that taken care of too. So
right.
the quicker that's done, and as long as they know they're getting their money, and they know that they own the payment plan, the rules, why not? Make it easy.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, don't pay somebody $5,000 to set up something you can do yourself. So
no, agreed. All right.
So last question for you guys: what are the future plans for Liberty Tax Offenders and Horton Dennis?
Hire us.
Wade?
Well, we are hoping to continue.
Pound sand.
Yeah. Tell the IRS to. Actually, I want to see the IRS abolished.
Yeah.
Of course, not until we make. Well, I won't say it. I'd like to end the Fed and end the IRS and tell them to pound sand and go learn the code.
Right. I think we're all in agreement that it's been kind of a one-sided fence for a long time, and there's not enough advocates for and the tax code's already complicated as it is, meaning it's what, this thick, and there's so much to keep up with. And all the poor business wants to do is go out and get a check for a service or a product and hope that that they're doing it right on their bookkeeping and their spreadsheets or whatever, and they're organized. So we just want to go run our lives and do our business. That's it.
Absolutely. But yeah, to touch on our future plans, we are looking to grow. We are looking to expand. We might buy an existing practice, which would help us do that. And I know Wade's got his eye on some property down in Central Texas. We might have to open an office down south. No. Don't make me set up a Google. Well, we got to keep our presence here.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Seriously, that'd be great. I mean, Texas is a big place, a lot of clients. I agree. Expand. All right, guys. Jordan? Well, thanks, guys, for being our sponsor. We can't thank you enough. We're not in this for the money side. We're in it because we care about small, medium business, and we want to give them a voice, and allow people to come find the stream and use their products and services. And having you guys help us takes care of some of the monthly stuff we have to pay, plus the organization, the editing, all the stuff that we do behind the scenes. And by the way, nobody ever sees. They end up seeing this part, but they don't know that as soon as we're done here, Herdy goes to YouTube, optimizes this, gets it set up on a playlist, gets the links out to you guys, and then has to go create one short and get it linked to it, get it all optimized. That takes time. And so the time element for this is our big deal. But we love it. And so as Jordan and me were talking the other day, we're expecting this thing to explode this year just simply because of the attention it's slowly starting to get. So we're pretty excited. So thank you guys.
Excited to be on your team.
Yes, indeed.
Two great guys. All right, Jordan, we're gonna take you guys out. Thank you guys for being part of the Mansfield Buzz. Everybody, we're on next Thursday at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking to Paychecks, which is a firm that helps with the payroll stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. And so we're booked all the way through the second week of April now, and it looks like I have 2 more people getting ready to take the last 2 weeks, and we're starting to look at May. So thank you guys for listening to the Mansfield Buzz. We'll see you next Thursday straight up here at 2 p.m. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.